Alrighty, so we are recording now. And so right now we are going to record this session on APAN owner training. I'm here with Randy Hinkle, and he's in Ohio looking to set up a working group for collaborating between military and civilian organizations. And I'm Laura Catino. I'm a knowledge manager on the APAN team. So we're going to dive right in. First of all, what you're seeing on the screen is what happens to everybody when they first log in to APAN. We have APAN uses Telligent as a primary platform, and then SharePoint is added onto that. So the user experience outside of any community is dictated by Telligent. And there are a lot of things that you can choose and make settings customized to your needs as an individual user. And then once you start joining communities and building communities, your choices as a user will have some effect on your experience within these communities. So I'm going to show you around some of those pieces for just being a user. So after you've logged into APAN, this is the page everybody sees. You've got your name up here at the top, and when you hover over that, a little pop down happens where you can see a little more information about a person, and that happens to everybody here. There's Raleigh on our service desk. And you've got your picture, and you've got all sorts of tabs for things that are yours. I'm going to show you those in a sec. But then the main feature of the page is the activity feed. So you see today and then yesterday. These are all the things happening in the groups I'm a member of and the people I'm colleagues with. So colleagues is just like friends on Facebook. You have to make a request of somebody, and then they say yes, and then you are connected on a short, quickie, easy reference list. And so a lot of the APAN team is connected to each other via colleagues here. Makes our job easier. We use our own tools here on APAN. So this tab up at the top for colleagues, this will show you all of my colleagues. And so you, as a user, Randy, you could go and take a look at who I'm colleagues with. You can see a lot of the things that are publicly available here on APAN in your user page. Also with colleagues, you can do private chatting with them. If you go to the right lower corner, you'll see a little bubble with a number next to it. Mine says 6 right now. That means there's 6 of my colleagues who are online. So you can see those here. So we've got Ryan over at SOCOM, Marielle, that's another account of mine, Gene Jordan at the North Carolina National Guard, Dennis Young, he's one of the APAN guys. These are all folks that I'm colleagues with on APAN. So I have a quick reference list right here, and I can chat with them anytime. Now, otherwise on this page, you've got announcements. This is a teaser. This shows you the quick little teasers for the last 3 posts on the APAN support blog. That's where we make announcements out to the entire APAN usership about what's going on. So that SharePoint user group presentation that just happened earlier today, that's here. That's an announcement Paul made. And then here's an authorized service interruption announcement. Next week on the 23rd and the 25th, we'll have some intermittent outages. And it won't interrupt your life too much, but it's good to make the announcement when those happen. And there was another one back in January here. So those are the announcements. Keep an eye on that. So whenever you log in, take a look here, see if there's anything new. And then this blue block here, these are notifications. So there's a lot of notifications that you can get, and every time you hover over somebody's name, you'll see this little pop-down come up. So you can choose a lot of things about those notifications. In the upper right-hand corner of the header, this is where a lot of your settings are going to be. So first, when we're going to go from the right and move to the left, when you hover your cursor over your own picture, you see your own personal stuff. You've got a link straight to your profile, and that's a little different from your login landing page. You've also got settings, and this is where, I'm going to click that, this is where you can set a number of things that have to do with your account. You've got your time zone, you've got a few things about your email, date format, and this is a good one to note here, allow private messages from. This one allows you to say if you want to get private messages from just your colleagues, or no one at all, or everyone on APAN. Now, they do have to be logged into APAN. There's also a few things about sharing. You can set up a little signature. I just have a little tiny signature. That signature shows up when you post on a forum. There's also some other things here. Notifications at the far end, this tab. This allows you to choose if you want to get an email notification when various things happen in your APAN communities. So for instance, you have subscriptions. Subscriptions are when you've subscribed to a piece of APAN, either a whole group or a single piece of the group, like a blog within the group. And you can choose to get email pushed to your account over here, or just a live alert. There's a pop-down, and that pop-down happens right here under the little Harry Potter style lightning bolt right there. All of these mimic the same things that you saw on my landing page in the big blue box. So you've got a lot of choices here. I'm going to scroll down really slowly. You can see a whole lot of things that you can get emails about, or you can choose to not get them. So I have everything checked on mine, and you can choose to not get so many. So there's that. Over here is subscriptions. These are all the subscriptions I've got. I've got a lot of them because I keep track of a lot of groups on APAN. You may want to have none, whatever you like. If you can go to a particular group, you can get a subscription to that whole group's activity, and you can get that in either a daily or weekly digest. There's also announcement blogs and discussion forums, individual wiki pages. You can get updates. You can subscribe to any of those and get an email, or choose to not get an email but get a pop-up message every time there's an update. So over here, email digests. This is an easy way to see all of the groups that I'm a part of that I've got, like here, daily or weekly digests for the activity. So these are all great ways that APAN and specifically Telligent provides us for keeping track of what's going on in those groups that we're a part of. If you've got a lot of groups, or if you've just got one, you've got to have a particular situational awareness on. Telligent allows you a lot of those options. Now I do have to say real quick that those are all Telligent based. When you have a SharePoint site on APAN, you have a similar function. It's not managed here though. It's not managed here in your settings. It's managed on each individual SharePoint site that you're a member of under the Alert Me function. So that's just an easy button to find on your SharePoint site. And the Alert Me function will allow you to ask that site to push notifications to you for either the whole site or various pieces of the site. But you do it from within each individual SharePoint site. So same concept and all of that. So I'm going to go back to my profile page and show you that because the profile is important. This is mine, and I put a lot of information in it. You don't have to, though. I'm an outreach person, so I put in a lot of information. There's my picture. And then there's some general information that APAN allows you to put in, but we do not put anything in there for you. So you can put in your phone number, email address, whatever you choose to be contacted by. And it's a good idea if you're an owner to go up here to this text section and put in a bio that at least says one sentence, I am the owner of thus and such community, so you can contact me about that community or topics related to it. So I highly recommend as an owner you put in at least a little something here. And that's under your profile. You can go to this button, Edit Profile, to fill that out. Alrighty, and there's just a couple other things on the user side that I'd like to tell you about. There's bookmarks up here in the upper right-hand corner again. Bookmarks, pretty self-explanatory, but watch out for these filters. The default is group, so don't panic if you don't see something that you bookmarked on here. If it's an individual page, it's over here under Content, Little Pages. And then there's this very nice, quick Applications menu. This will get you over to the chat interface. You can monitor many chat rooms from different communities all under this one chat interface. Community brings you back to home. Translate is an excellent function for 17 languages, including Dari and Pashto, that you can use to translate your documents and individual phrases, and you can also translate your entire web page experience into one of those languages. Now the last one's most important, that's support right here. So this is the main support community on APAN, where we give you all sorts of ways to help yourself and ask for help. So you've got the knowledge base that shows up first, and this is a huge wiki with lots of wiki pages on how to do every little thing on APAN. So we have it divided up into a SharePoint section here, and a Telligent section here, and then general updates right here. And then it's been set up in a curriculum fashion, so you can start at the top and work your way down to educate yourself in various ways of making things work. So you can start at the top, work your way down, read every little article, and be an expert by the time you get to the bottom. You can also ask for help. That's over here on the online form, and the help desk hotline number here is open 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. They do take off Saturdays, but you can call that number anytime to get help. There's also various things in here under the support group. News and Updates is our support blog, and a couple other blogs about software updates. You've got resources. There's a lot of documents and slides there about general information about APAN that applies to any kind of community. Training, that's the training page that you can see this training series on, and then contact us just gives you another way to get a hold of the help desk. So that's everything for the general user experience on APAN. So do you have any questions, Randy, or have I covered it? So you know what's demo groups. Under the training page, beautiful training page, I love this. We have some demo communities right here. There it is. And so we've got some different ways that we've demoed Telligent groups. Over here, the SharePoint site, I'm going to bring you there at the very end. But for right now, we're going to take a look at the working group demo group. And you can come here anytime. These pages are public, so you can come back and take a look and poke around if you want. So this is what a basic Telligent group looks like. And you've got an option for everything here. All of these are mix and match. So just like in SharePoint sites, where you use web parts to add functionality to an individual page, Telligent does very similar things. We call them widgets. So each of these little boxes is a widget. You can mix and match them, put new ones in, take the default ones out, and you can customize each individual widget to do exactly what you want. So there's a lot of things that are customizable here. And there are various ways of making those changes happen. Over here on the right-hand side, Group Administration. These are buttons that are going to show up in your default Telligent group. And there's a few things here that you're going to use a lot. First of all, this button here, APAN Options. This is going to give you a few options for things that APAN has built out for you. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. These are going to be affecting your group as a whole. FOUO is available on APAN. This is a couple of things just about FOUO, but you do have to ask permission and go through a bit of a process that includes a form and sending it up the chain, getting approval from DISA, and then getting that sent back down the chain. And there's no timeline for that. It's just people getting work done as quickly as they can. So if you need to do that, go ahead and ask permission. That's a whole separate process once you've got your group created. Over here under Features, you see all the features that APAN has built out for you on Telligent. And that includes chat rooms, Connect rooms, just like this one, Adobe Connect. You can make your own Adobe Connect rooms. Geotagging and community maps, these are great for using the GIS mapping functions on APAN. And Telligent and SharePoint have very different mapping capabilities. On SharePoint, we have just the one ArcGIS web part, and that's very much based on what data you can put into a SharePoint list using lats and longs. So that's a web part that has its own set of lessons, but here for Telligent, we use community maps, and those in conjunction with geotagging all the content within your group, that can show you a lot of great detail on the location of what's associated with your content. So I'm going to show you a little bit about maps later. Media galleries is your file sharing function, and you can use folders and tags, both, for managing those. And it's a really great, easy user interface for making that happen. You can also translate files within a media gallery, and you can also add in SharePoint. So this is an extra feature of Telligent that is going to add some extra work for you, and it does make things more complicated. So I only recommend that if you're confident that you can invest the time in managing it carefully. It does add complexity and workload to any group owner. So enter that carefully, and there are some things that you can do to add in SharePoint to a Telligent group that can sometimes make things really good for your users. It depends, though. It's primarily for adding in document libraries and custom lists. And so we'll get into that if you need to dig into that. Now, further on down, we have the profile for your group. Usually you just set this up once and walk away. This helps us keep track of metrics. You will have metrics available to you as an owner of a Telligent group, and these help us keep those straight. So you have various organizations you can be associated with, primarily the COCOMs, and then different types of groups. They can be exercises, conferences, disasters, landing pages, or working groups. This one's a demo sandbox. And then regions, all sorts of regions. So these are things that will help your metrics be a little more focused. And then the last one here, notification, this one's really important. You can take a blog or a forum function within a Telligent group, and you can click a box for it. That means you are going to auto-subscribe all of your members to be subscribed to that blog. And that means they will get an email for every new blog post that you make. This is a great way to start out your group. And assuming that the user has not gone over here to settings and changed things, they will get an automatic email every time you've posted to this blog. This works out great because it acts like a kind of a listserv. People will get these emails, and they'll also have reference on the web page here. So you've got it in the blog. So they have two ways of getting a hold of the information. Either they receive it with a push through the email, or they can go to the blog web page. And you can make that happen on either the blog and or the forum. You can do everything if you like. So I recommend when you're starting out a group that you start with this setting and then let people decide through the experience if they want to opt out of that email or not. So they can go to this settings up here and opt out of getting that email. Or they can just leave it as is and keep getting them pushed to their inbox and filter them within their inbox. So those are the APAN options under that button that is on the front page down here. APAN options. Any questions about APAN options? Sharing documents. Okay, so your question is, which program makes it easier to share documents? That really depends. I believe it is Telligent, because Telligent allows you to use folders like people are accustomed to, but also tags. Tags will allow you to add tags to documents as you go, or you can go back later and add them in. You can edit them as time goes on. And you can add a tag cloud to the media gallery and show all those tags. So people can either choose to see a list of all those tags in the tag cloud, click them and dial down to the file that they need, or sift through the folders like people are accustomed to doing. So I find Telligent is better for that than SharePoint. However, SharePoint has a few extra bells and whistles that sometimes people are accustomed to seeing. One of those is the check-in and check-out feature. So this comes in handy when you've got a group of people who are, say, working on documents together as a group, and a handful of them need to edit the same document. So if you have that document checked out to one user, then that person's going to have to check it in before anybody else gets to see it or use it, and that can help with version control. So you don't have that automatic function in Telligent. If you like Telligent, however, and you want that function, you can use the hybrid, which is bringing in that SharePoint feature, using a document library within Telligent, and then once you're in that document library, using the check-in, check-out. So here in the header, you've got all your tabs, and in the More button, I'm going to show you the SharePoint page for this demo group and show you what that looks like, that hybrid option. So here's all of my SharePoint libraries and lists. And so let's say example document library, that has some things in it. There we are. Okay, it has nothing in it. Okay. However, this is the view of your document library, and so this is all SharePoint. And this is what people are accustomed to seeing. You can, add new ones, upload them, and then the Actions tab brings you back to other things you can do with SharePoint, and then the Settings gets you this one, Document Library Settings, which you as the owner can use to edit things within the document library per SharePoint skills you may already have. So that's how the hybrid looks. And then let's go back to the top. And within this set of tabs, we're going to go to Files, and I'll show you what the Telligent equivalent looks like. Here you go. We've got individual files, and this is a folder. And this is a little tiny piece of the tag cloud. So you've got a various number of ways to view it. Right now this is mostly individual files, but that's how the folder looks. So it's a different style between Telligent and SharePoint on how the document management works. It depends on what your priorities are. So to answer your question, which program makes it easier to share documents? I think they're both easy, and there's ways to pick your priorities and choose the platform that most supports your priorities. So I'm going to go back to the home page. There we have it. Now there's another piece of managing a group on Telligent that is very similar to SharePoint, and that's the mix and match of all these widgets on a page. There's a lot of things that you can do with that, and so we're going to go to the big black menu. In the upper left-hand corner, you see an icon with a pencil. We're going to hover on that, and out pops the big black menu. This is what's going to control most of your Telligent group. So this is very similar to that Site Actions tab in the upper left-hand corner of SharePoint sites that an owner will go to get a hold of the rest of their menus. This is very similar to that. So here under Manage Group, we've got a lot of basics under this top one, Manage Group. You've got your group options up first. This is where you can change the name, your avatar, the URL. I highly recommend you don't change the URL unless you are ready to update everyone in your community to make sure if they made any shortcuts somewhere that the URL is changed. So be careful about that. And this is the privacy setting right here. Now let me spend a minute on this because this is a very significantly different piece from SharePoint. So on SharePoint, if you'll recall that the permissions to access a SharePoint site are very much based on individual users getting specific permissions granted, and sometimes they are entered into a group like the owners group or the members group or the visitors group. And then those groups are given specific permissions about what they're going to access within the site. They might get access to everything, or they might get access to pieces. They might get access to just one piece. So here on Telligent, it's different. We have these 5 settings that represent ways all users are going to enter your Telligent group or not. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. This one, private unlisted, this means that no one can see your group, no one knows you're there, and you are not listed on an APAN search. You have to invite people manually or hand the URL over to somebody and say, I've added you to this group, here it is, come see it. So that's private and unlisted. It's the invitation-only setting. Private and listed means that you're still private, nobody can see you, but people can find you on an APAN search. You are listed on a search. And that means that if they're not part of your group yet, they will get a access request window when they visit your group, and they can ask to be added. So it's all private until you let someone in and they can find you if you're listed. Now these other 3 are public. Now keep in mind that means all of your content is going to be publicly available for anyone to view. It'll be view only for anyone on the internet, and that means you do not have to have an APAN account in order to see the content if it's public. Now the interaction piece is where these 3 settings become different. The public closed membership means that people can view it, they can click around and see what's in your group, but they cannot interact with it until they've been added as a member of your group. So they have to have an APAN account, they have to log in to APAN, and they have to be a member that you have approved in order to get in there and interact with the group. And that means upload, download files, participate in the forum, and make comments on a blog post, use the wiki, all sorts of things. So they need to be a member in order to interact, but anybody can view the content. Now moving up to open membership, this means you have the same set of conditions, but you as the owner do not have to approve them into membership. They can make themselves a member. There's a little button that says join. Somebody can click the button and join themselves. This becomes handy in some occasions where you still want to track who's in the group and who's actually interacting, but you don't want to have a bottleneck. So my best example for this is the Ebola Response Network group that we set up a few years ago when we were supporting the Ebola response efforts out in Africa. They wanted to still see who was part of the membership, but they didn't want a bottleneck. They wanted it to be as open as possible while still tracking folks. And when I say tracking, I mean just getting metrics, seeing who as a member was uploading, downloading files, and interacting. So they had about 700 members that self-selected to be in that group, and there were lots of other folks that just came to view. So that's what public open is good for. Now the last one here, join list, this pretty much makes your group act like any old other web page. So any web page on the internet that people can come to, view, and interact with. Upload, download files, and make forum posts to their heart's content. They can interact. A lot of people do use this, but just for a landing page. And then you can create subgroups from that that have tighter controls. So that's like a welcome mat using a join list group. So let me ask you if you have any questions about this. It's a very different way of managing access to your group, and it's important that every owner understands those access controls. So let me know in the chat box if you have any questions about how Telligent manages access. Yes, so you see the similarities between the two, Telligent and SharePoint. Yes, I believe SharePoint is more user-friendly. I hope I said Telligent. Telligent is more user-friendly. It's built that way, and that's one of the reasons why it's the primary platform on APAN, is because it really works well for getting people up to speed, involved, and interacting in the group. And from my point of view, that's the most important thing, get people to use it. So, excellent. You see the difference between how SharePoint and Telligent manages access. Brilliant. And we're going to go back up the big black menu and take a look at a few other things. So I mentioned subgroups. This is where you can manage subgroups. You just make more subgroups, and they are independent of each other, keep in mind. So with SharePoint, you have the option of inheriting members and settings from parent group to child group, and you don't do that in Telligent. When you make a subgroup, it's completely independent. So if you want the same membership, you're going to have to add them to your subgroup. Now here, applications. This is a lot of fun. Applications are your blog, forum, media gallery, and wiki and calendar. So this is where you can add more of them or take them away. On an APAN Telligent group, when we start you off, we're going to give you one of each, and then you can add them or delete them from here, and you can also edit them. There's all sorts of features within each application you can customize to make it do exactly what you want. One of the nice things about all of these is that you can adjust the permissions a little bit. You can, you will have roles of still owners and members within a Telligent group, and you can allow members to have a few more permissions than they normally would when you go into these applications. For example, the blog is set as a default to only allow owners to author original blog posts. Everybody else is intended to comment on them. And then the forum has the default setting to allow everybody to author original forum posts. Now, you can change that, and you can allow all the members to author original blog posts as well as comment. And you can switch around the forum as well. So you can do a little bit of that. It's not allowing you to do that with specific users, but with those roles of owners and members. So you can do that by going into each one of these and customizing it. There's lots of other customizations available. We don't really have time to go into all of those today, but I do invite you to click around and dig into those. So there's lots you can do per application. Now I'm going back up the big black menu to Manage Group. It's just going to take a minute. There we go. So here under Permissions, this is where you can make some large overall settings. So these are the roles I mentioned, owners and members. There's also this third one that's managers, and in and of itself it's not very powerful, but what it does do is allow you another role to play with to add more permissions to some people if you want. So what some owners do is they'll make 2 or 3 people in the managers group and then add a few extra permissions to that managers group. Mostly it's for things like monitoring a blog. Let's say you've got a pretty busy blog and a lot of the members are posting to it, and if you want to take some managers here and allow them to moderate that blog, that's where you can take the manager's role and add those permissions. So it's not super powerful. It's not exactly the same as SharePoint, but it does allow you one extra level in the middle there for managing those. So that's what the permissions is. Now let's go back one more, and what we've covered is the Manage Group. What I'm going to manage here, or show you here, is Manage Group Theme. This gets you to edit the individual pages. This is really where it looks like SharePoint, in that you can click Edit Page, and the page is going to go into edit mode, and you'll see a lot more details about each one of these widgets. Keeping in mind that widgets are almost exactly the same as web parts, in that you can add them or delete them from a page, you can mix and match them all around, and each individual widget has configurations you can make to make that particular widget do exactly what you want. Now on the left side in that big black menu, you've got a list. There's about 100 of these widgets. There's a lot of them here. So each one of the widgets has a little description, so you can see what's going on with each of the widgets. Also in the knowledge base, there is a widget matrix that'll show you a little description for each one of these and a link to the file in the knowledge base, the article on how to use it. So do keep in mind there's a lot of answers in that knowledge base if you don't remember right off the bat what these things are supposed to do. You can also take the tabs and toggle over to layout. So this one is using your classic 3-column layout with a header, but you could move it around if you wanted to. We could we could just take that out and say, let's make the little column on the left, move everything over to lump together in the big column. And this is pretty easy to go back and forth and say, nah, I didn't like that. I'm going to go back here, put it back the way it was, and voila. So that's a lot easier than SharePoint. SharePoint doesn't allow you to do that. So I like the layout powers here. Now there's also a preview option. You can put it into preview mode and then see what it looks like before you publish it. You can certainly do that. It's a little time consuming, and it depends on your personal style if you like that or not. At the end you do have to publish, click publish, and then click the X to come out. However, before we do that, I'm going to take a look at some individual widgets here. This one called generic content, this is the most popular one. This allows you to post in there any kind of text, links, pictures, videos, anything that you need. And it's a lot like the SharePoint web part for content editor. So what you need to do is go to the header, hover your cursor on the header, and you'll see the gear pop up. This is the all-powerful gear that gets you into the configure menu for that widget. So once you're in here, you see a lot of great stuff for just this widget. It'll have a title, and be sure that title says what you want it to say. The default is text that says generic content, which is kind of boring and you don't necessarily want to keep that. So make sure it says something friendly. And this is the editor space, and you can make it a little bigger if you want. This little guy down here will allow you to pull it down, make it big. And you've got a lot of very familiar formatting options, your font and how things look. And here under Insert, this is where you can make something into a link. You can add in your videos. You can insert code, but it's not going to be executable. It's just going to be for formatting. And you've got a poll option, and what platform is not complete without some cute emoticons. A lot of cute things there. And then under the rest of these tabs, there's all sorts of good stuff that you can find to format things, make them look good. Table is very useful for setting up links. If you've got a whole lot of links that have icons and graphics, you can make them all set up very neatly in rows using a table. And tools, this one's really great for a couple of reasons. First of all, restore lost content. That's the undo. If you messed up something, you can use this button to undo your last step. Preview is great. This is a much quicker preview than the whole page preview that I mentioned before. This allows you to see very quickly what's going to show up in your generic content widget after you've been typing. And this one, source code, I love this one. This one allows you to see the code within your generic content widget, and it's great for copying generic content widgets. If you get a generic content widget that you love that has all the best stuff in it, and maybe you want to copy it somewhere, maybe you want to copy it and then tweak it a little on different pages, you can do this. Open up the source code and select and copy. And then you can go into another generic content widget, open up the source code, and paste. So that's really handy for quick copying and pasting your content. I really love it. Alrighty, so from here, you need to save it if you want to save it, or I'm just going to X out of it. Now we do have some other interesting widgets that do things like this one, the members list. This one will show you all the members of your group, and you go to the icon, the gear icon, and that'll open up this widget's options. And you can do some things here. You can choose to have it show just the group owners or all of the members. And then once you select members, you can have it sort by username. That's going to be alphabetical, or by the time they by the time they joined, the date of their joining into this group. You can use author quality score. The scoring on APAN is kind of meaningless. It doesn't really do much because there are a lot of people that have small activity levels but great content, and the other way around. So we usually just kind of ignore the scoring and choose other ways to present your people and your content. So you can choose all sorts of options there, number of people to display. You can allow a bunch of pages to be in there. So each widget has its own purpose in life, and you can do a lot of things with each widget. Before I move on, do you have any questions on the widgets and how they work? They're pretty similar to SharePoint web parts. So if you're already SharePoint savvy, this should be pretty easy. Black menu. Now this button down here for managing pages, this is great for seeing everything you have within your group. So in SharePoint terms, this is very similar to your View All Site Content option. This will show you all the pages and all of the applications, everything that you've got, and it will also show you a little orange button that says this has been customized. So if you want to see what's been customized versus default, it's all right there. And the big blue button at the top is Add a Custom Page. This is allowing you to add in a completely blank page onto which you're going to add your own widgets. So if you wanted just one clean welcome page that says, welcome to my awesome group, this is how you do it. Add a custom page, put in one widget, probably generic content, type in, welcome to my awesome group, and voila, you've got an individual page. Now that's everything within the big black menu that I want to show you. And the next step is to show you where the members are managed. So we're getting out of edit mode, and we're going to go back to the right side blue menu. We've got two menus here. We've got the black on the left and the blue on the right. So over here under Manage Members, this is where you're going to manage that content members. And managing members is rather different in Telligent than it is in SharePoint. First of all, your pending members is different. It's not a list. It's this display, and you can see it in either the grid or the list layout. So I'm going to click over to List, and here it's going to show you just a little bit more information about all these people. So you've got various pieces of information about them, including their email address, their message to you, and their location, and the date that they requested access. And the good news is you can approve or deny the person here, and it's not the end of the story when you do this. You get the choice to either approve or deny, but you've got this message in here that they'll get via email, and they'll be able to see this message from you, and if you have to deny them to say, sorry, you didn't give me all the information I need for approving you into my group, please tell me the role you're playing in the exercise, or what's your job title, or who sent you. Any number of things that you can put in there, and that will allow them to get the message if there's any kind of an issue. Or you can just approve them and say, welcome to the group. Lots of things you can do there. Now, there's also ways you can sort how you see people. So actually, let's go back up here. Pending members is the default, but you can see all of your members by clicking this filter for list members. And then we've got under the display name either the join and request date or membership type. Now, membership type is great because this allows the owners to float to the top of the list. So you can see all these owners. These are all, pretty much APAN staff people, and yeah. So here's the regular members, and this is also where you add people. So let's go back to pending. Now the add feature and invite are slightly different. Under add, you can find people who already have APAN accounts. So let's say you're looking for me. You type in a name and a search happens. And then these are all my little test accounts. But let's just, here. Oh, and you see this one's already a member. So let's pick this one. This is my Welcome Wagon account. And you can choose to make them a member or an owner right away. That's if they already have an APAN account. Now, inviting is a little different. It has some options. You can either find them if they already have an APAN account, just like you did before. And when you send the invitation, they're going to get an email. They're going to get an email that includes this message from you. So you can say, please join my group, if you want to have that extra option for them to opt out right away and say, no, it's not something I'm going to do right now. And if they don't have an APAN account, that's the beauty of this function right here. If they do not have an APAN account right now, you can type in an email address, and this little search is just confirming that you've typed it correctly. And you can send in a message to this email, and it'll say, please click this link to create your APAN account, and you will be automatically added to this group. So what happens in the back end is an email is sent from this group. It's tied to this group. And they'll get that email. If they respond to that, they click the link offered in the email, and they go through the process of creating their APAN account. When they log in for the first time, they're going to automatically be added as a member to your group. That only happens if they're responding to the invitation. If they go outside of that and go and make an APAN account on their own, they've got to go find your group in order to say, can I please be a member? So that kind of defeats the purpose of the invitation. But what sometimes happens is they will log in for the first time, having responded to this invitation, and they see the regular login page that everybody sees. And it's not necessarily always really obvious where they're supposed to go for getting a hold of their group. So let's say we've logged in, and they're going to go to the home. This is the page they're seeing when they first log in. So they're not going to see all this activity because they're new to the community, but they're going to see all these tabs. What they have to do is click on Groups in order to see the link to your group. So these are all of the groups that I'm a part of, and you get there by clicking on the Groups tab once you've logged in, but that one extra click sometimes is a little confusing to people when they first get in, if they're brand new to APAN, if they're completely new to this concept of sharing. So what you can do is put in this message, be sure to click on the Groups tab when you log in, or click this link once you have created your APAN account. And then you put in your URL here, and they'll have that in the email. So once they respond to the invitation, they can click on the link and go straight in. So do you have any questions about how the membership works, adding members and managing members within the Telligent group? It's a little different from SharePoint, but you can do a lot of things with it. So let me know if you've got any questions on membership. Yes, it is similar to SharePoint, just more up to date with technology. Yeah, it gives you a little more information about who's making requests to join your group and allowing you to communicate with them a little bit more than what SharePoint allows. So I tell you what, that's all of the information I have for you prepared, and I'm happy to answer questions right now. Let me know if you've got anything, especially SharePoint versus Telligent questions that I can handle for you in making that decision between SharePoint and Telligent. Which platform does DISA prefer for FOUO use? You know, DISA does not necessarily prefer one or the other. I really suggest that you make that decision based on what your users need. If you've got folks that are relatively new to sharing information online in a group setting, and if they're not particularly dedicated to SharePoint and they are open to trying something that's not SharePoint, I highly recommend using Telligent because it's better for the users to interact with. I can tell you that SharePoint is sometimes better because people are accustomed to it already. So it really depends on your user base, which one is going to work better for you. And I would highly recommend keeping that decision based on your own users' needs, and then you ask for FOUO permission. Pretty much, if you have a good reason to need FOUO designation on your group, you're very clear that you have FOUO content that is required for achieving your mission. Usually DISA approves it. It's just a matter of really needing the FOUO designation. Sometimes it can be overused. So sometimes people just think they're not really sure if they need FOUO or not, and so they lean on the side of caution by trying to get the FOUO designation. If it's not really necessary, then you might not get it. But it's important to know yourself what you're going to need for FOUO or not. So that's definitely something for you to make the decision on. And if you need more time to think about it, more consultation, we certainly can talk more about it. You got it. Okay, anything else I can handle for you, Randy? Because you've been great today. Thanks so much. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions or let you digest for a little while and then get back to us on what your decision is for which platform you need. Okay. Oh, you got it. We've got more tips where that came from. I highly encourage use of the knowledge base, and always call the APAN help desk. There's a rotating team of great guys there 24 hours a day ready to give you all sorts of answers. And then if they can't answer it right away, they'll pass it on up the chain to the rest of the team. And there's always somebody on APAN who can answer your questions. So I tell you what, if that's it for today, I really appreciate your time. Please keep in touch. Let us know how we can help. And we're always going to do what we can to support your information sharing missions.